Hi guys, I'm Shmi, and today I have teamed up with Mobil 1 for something really rather cool. So behind me is a new Porsche 991.2 GT3, and where we are right now is inside Porsche's environmental test chamber, where today we're going to be experiencing plus 40 degrees Celsius, minus 20 degrees, and seeing how it works in terms of the body and sort of endurance performance going through that, and in terms of how the oil works in the car. This is quite cool. It's warming up in here at the moment, but I thought I'd take a moment just to show you the new 911 GT3, because this thing is amazing. It was launched at the Geneva Motor Show earlier this year, slightly redesigned, basically a sort of facelift. It's the 991.2. It has the new sort of revised engine, the 4-litre flat 6 with 500 horsepower, rear engine, rear wheel drive, and available PDK 7-speed or the 6-speed manual, depending how you want it. In terms of looks, there's a little bit different to before. You've got the sort of satin black finish of the end plates. You've got this additional cooling just above the rear deck for the engine. Coming down to the back, mostly the same, central mounted exhaust pipes. Of course, back here we're in the test chamber where this room can go very hot and very cold, and there's a dyno and all sorts. But if I have a look inside the car, it's got the bucket seats on this, looking really nice in the guards red with the red striping. This is kind of the launch specification of the car. This one has the PDK, which is basically the quicker gearbox. 0 to 62 in here, 3.4 seconds. 0 to 62 in the manual, 3.9 seconds. But actually, the manual's faster, top speed. The manual can go to 199 miles an hour, and the PDK only 198. 1 mile an hour difference. Now the car, 1420 kilos, is only 10 kilos heavier than the outgoing GT3 RS that had a 4-litre engine as well, a different engine in the RS and the R to what we now have in the GT3. But it's 17 kilos lighter if you have the manual, but it's a car that's presumably a lot of fun to drive. And as you guys probably know, I'm rather excited because, well, eventually one of these might find its way into my garage, so that will be really cool. But this is the first time I've been able to take a look around it like this. Got ceramics, center locks, you can have it with a cage, with all the harnesses, and in this spec it looks really cool. So in this room, I'm going to be given an introduction and a lowdown as to what's coming up, but basically I'm going to be experiencing 40 degrees of heat for a period to see how I cope with that. And then I'm going to be experiencing minus 20, which is going to be really quite cold. So that's like 40 degrees is like being out in the desert in Dubai. Minus 20 is like, colder than the coldest we ever get in the UK. So that's going to be quite a chill. And of course, it's a big thanks to Mobil 1 that I'm here right now. So basically, let's see how this day is going to go. It's a GT3. It's a completely different thing than I've ever done before. We're behind the scenes of the full video of your engine evolved. Let's see how this goes. Now, I am joined by Greg White, who specialises in human performance. Can you tell me a little bit about what I am going to experience in there?
Well, it's going to be brutal. I think that's the first thing to say. I mean, one of the things that we need to do is actually regulate our temperature. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely crucial for life in humans. Mm-hmm. We're going to put you in plus 40 degrees centigrade. Yeah. What you're going to have to try and do is get rid of that heat, that extra heat. We do that fundamentally through sweating. That's the key way we do it, evaporative sweat loss. At the other end of the spectrum, minus 20, you're going to try and conserve heat. And so one of the key problems that we have is you get vasoconstriction, particularly at the periphery, to bring blood to the center. What that does is that increases the danger of things like frostbite. So these are dangerous environments, and they're all about controlling temperature.
I was just about to say, I'm getting a little bit nervous now. Should I?
Well, you should. I mean, we're looking after you, but actually these are properly dangerous temperatures if you're not well controlled and you're not experienced.
And this is all obviously about seeing how the car handles it, much in the same kind of system that we do.
Yeah, exactly that. It's the analogy between the car and the human is incredible. The car is the radiator, which is the skin on humans. Mm-hmm. The car has coolant, which is the blood in humans. Yeah, and the car has got a pump, which is actually the heart in humans. So the way in which it thermoregulates is actually very, very similar. Okay. But there are subtle differences. And we we can't operate the way that cars do at incredible extremes of temperature. We can only operate around really narrow temperature ranges.
Well, I'm quite looking forward to experiencing it. So.
It's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to you experiencing it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you.
It's a pleasure, Tim.
It's my turn now to head inside. There's a thermometer here that says it is currently 40.26 degrees Celsius, as you can see. So naturally, I'm dressed for the occasion. Shirt open, shorts. It's going to be quite hot in there, and the temperature is probably going to go up a little bit more as well, because there's also sort of a sun thing to make it even warmer. So let's brave this. Let's head inside and see what this is going to be like. See ya. Okay, so it is climbing up in temperature terms. It's just over 40 degrees. Not too hot yet though. The car is gleaming in this very, very bright light that we have in here. But this is kind of extreme vlogging right now. I am filming a video under extreme temperatures. The temperature will get a little bit warmer too, but here is the car. Let's jump in where it's probably going to be a couple of degrees hotter. This is also pretty extreme for the camera, no doubt, because this is sort of the very top end of conditions in which it gets used. But here we are, sat inside the new GT3, and trust me guys, it is very, very warm in here. Very warm. This is full on greenhouse right now, so I'm glad I dressed. Obviously, I've got to stay hydrated, that's quite important. So I might pop out and get a bottle of water as well. But then I'm going to try and be in here for a while, see what it's like, and I'll let you know in a little bit.
In order to thermoregulate, in order to control that temperature, effectively you need as fewer layers as possible. Although interestingly, layers do help when you're in the heat. But fundamentally what he's trying to do is reduce that heat load, which is massive. 40 degrees centigrade, 50% humidity, plus the radiant energy, somewhere in the region of about 600 to 700 watts of lighting energy coming down in, much like the midday sun. So it's going to be tough. Interestingly, he's carrying water. Hydration is critical. You know, what you have to think about is that the car's got a coolant system, but it's a closed coolant system. In other words, it doesn't actually lose fluid. The human has actually got an open coolant system, because what it does is it sweats, and that sweat then evaporates, and so therefore it loses fluid. So what the human has to do is constantly top up that coolant. Absolutely critical. Otherwise what happens is we see a reduction in things like blood volume. That blood volume leads to an increase in viscosity of the blood. What that means is that you have to work much harder to push the blood around the system, and critically increases the potential for thrombus, for clots to form. So it can be very, very dangerous if he becomes extremely dehydrated.
I am really starting to feel this. As you can probably see, it's been a little while that I've been in here, somewhere over 40 degrees, and as we heard, the body can only go up to 42. The Mobil 1 oil can go up to 260, so it's a complete doddle for the oil. For me, however, I am running kind of right up towards the limit right now, but sitting in a new GT3, which is really, really cool. And here you've got the PDK Sport buttons, the suspension, ESC traction and exhaust button, the lift system for the front nose. This car, by the way, revs up to 9,000 RPM. 9,000 RPM, that is a huge number, and it just screams, I imagine, when you're up there. I've not driven, obviously, in new GT3, so I've not experienced it at this point, but I can imagine it's pretty awesome. Whew. I'm starting to feel very hot, I'm not gonna lie. Fortunately, a little bit of water with me here, but 40 degrees, even just sitting here, not moving, I can really, really feel it. Especially for a Brit, of course, especially for somebody who's not familiar with this, these kind of temperatures. You can probably tell my mind isn't even 100% with it right now. But extreme vlogging at its best. Literally, guys, this is hot for me, not for the car. Whew.
He seems to be doing okay though. He's coping reasonably well in there. But look at his face now. In fact, you can see it on his face. He's really starting to redden up. So this blood flow to the skin, trying to dissipate this heat. It's all those lovely little telltale signs. You can see him puffing his shirt up behind him. You can see him brushing his hair back, wiping the sweat from his brow. All of those things tell us that what he's doing at the moment is he is sweating profusely. And he's doing that aggressively because that's the one way in which he's going to be able to control that body temperature.
My goodness, that is hot. Wow, it's nice to be out here. It's time to head in for the cold, and it is currently minus 20 degrees Celsius. So, let's do this. Let's see what this is going to be like in the big fridge, or big freezer I should say. See ya! Woo. this is brisk. Right, let's take a look around inside the giant freezer, where the car is completely covered in frost. You can tell it's looking a little bit cold for itself. Let's come in on the badge right here. Yeah, rather chilly at the moment. Just being careful walking around. Let's jump in. Goodness me, everything is just frozen. Well, unsurprisingly, it's minus 20 degrees in here. Oh my goodness. So, yeah. Everything works though, as it should. Well, electronics side of things. Neat. Look at this. Car's frozen. The door pulls as well, even those look a bit frozen.
So here comes Tim, our fair-weathered Brit. And I can tell you it never gets down to minus 20 in London, where Tim lives. So for him, actually, this will be a real experience, I think, actually getting used to this temperature. First thing you see, actually, is obviously he's well covered up. You know, he is prepared before he's come in here. He's got the jacket done up fully, he's got gloves, he's got hats on. And when I spoke to him before, you know, he had a concern about it being this cold, particularly about the effect that it may have on his skin. Because it's the one thing that most people worry about is actually about frostbite. And that can ensue, that can happen really, really quickly in these really low temperatures. But what he's doing, interestingly, if you take a look at him, is he actually gesticulates quite a lot. It's a lot of movement. That's a really good thing in these temperatures, because the more movement you've got, the more active you are. What you're doing is you're generating heat. And that's really, really important, because what that's doing is that's helping stabilize this core temperature. So he's doing exactly the right thing. He's well covered up, he's being very active, he's being effectively lots of gesticulation, makes a big difference to him. Unlike the heat though, it won't necessarily be any colder inside the car. Remember, in the heat, actually the car acts like an oven and it heats up constantly. In the cold environment, actually the inside temperature of the car tends to be almost identical to outside of the car. So he's no safer, but he's in no more danger whether he's inside or out.
I've been in here for a while now, and basically anything that is exposed is super cold. Like my cheeks, my nose is frozen. If I breathe in through my nose, you get that kind of deep chill going all the way through you. Thank goodness for gloves and a warm jacket, basically. But this is minus 20. That's, I guess, kind of normal if you're in Russia, or even, I guess, once or twice a year, the coldest you actually get in Scotland as well. So the car has to perform, and the engine and oil have to work together in these temperatures, which is kind of ridiculous, because I am seriously cold just sat here. I mean, doing exercise or something, if you're skiing or if you're moving or if you're walking, that's something, but just sitting in the car is quite an experience. You can kind of like properly feel that. Okay, let's call this a day. I am getting out of here. It is cold. Oh, right. Bye-bye GT3, you're a cool car, but this is too cold for me. Let's get outside. That was cold. Behind the scenes then, chamber is cold. It's time to start the car up. Let's hear the 4-litre flat 6 of the new 991.2 GT3 roaring into life. And we're in life. The room is actually warming up, everything coming back round to normal temperatures, but it is amazing to watch how quickly it is climbing. Car fired up, no issues though. I'm feeling a little bit less cold as everything in here gets a little bit warmer, but just cool to experience, really. Well, there we go. That is the extreme vlogging with Mobil 1 and the new Porsche GT3 at minus 20 degrees to plus 40 and experiencing what that is like. For more and their full video, do check out the link in the description down below with myself and some other guys experiencing the car in full and finding out a little bit more of what's actually happening while we're doing this. So go click that link, have a look at it, but it's a big thanks from me to Mobil 1, to you guys for watching, and as always, I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers!